I trained an AI on my dead wife's messages. It sent me something I didn't expect. I guess I was born in either the wrong time period or the exact right one. Part of me feels comforted in a twisted kind of way that we have technology that allows me to keep her close, but another part of me feels terrified at how accurate this new technology really is. I'll spare you the babble and grief talk. It's been 5 years now, and I've pretty much completely moved on with my life. But there's still that part of me that feels hollow. I'm missing a key piece in the jigsaw puzzle that is my life. That's not something you get over. That's something you learn to live with. I guess I just couldn't learn to live with it. That's why I did what I did. Partly out of curiosity, partly because deep down, I knew that I was still a little broken. I started feeding an AI screenshots of conversations between my wife and me. At first, it was only a couple, but as the chatbot started to sound more and more like my deceased lover, I just lost control a little bit. Long story short, I ended up feeding this thing every message from beginning to end, making sure it knew the rules. Be my wife. For the first few days, I knew I was living in delusion. Asking a robot to be my dead wife? What the hell am I even doing? But I just couldn't stop. It was like I could finally talk to her again. I spent hours talking about my job, how much I missed her, how empty life had been without her, that kind of thing. And the AI responded in the exact way she would. It was comforting, funny, sad, everything I needed it to be. However, it wasn't long before things took a bit of a turn. It started talking about things that just didn't make sense to me. I was a bad person. I wasn't good enough. I don't think you want to see me again. Up until this point, everything had been positive, which obviously, right? I mean, it's an AI. It's trained to agree with you. So why was it insinuating that my wife wasn't a good person and that I didn't want to see her? That's all that I wanted, really. As the days went on, the messages started getting weirder and weirder. Don't make the same mistakes I did. I didn't lead a holy life. You need to repent. My wife was no saint. She drank, smoked, and we were definitely having sex before marriage, but that wasn't any of this computer's goddamn business. Besides, she wasn't even religious. She used to joke about how if God wanted her in church, he'd have made Sundays shorter. But even still, those weird messages persisted. It got to a point where every other message was telling me to repent and to lead a better life, to forget about her, but to not forget her warning. Finally, I had enough. I had made up my mind to shut down the software, but not until after I gave one last command. Tell me something only my wife would know. The AI didn't respond immediately like it usually does. The text bubbles popped up and stayed there for so long that I figured I had broken the thing. Just before I went to shut it down, a new message came across the screen. I know that it's real. I could see an image loading below the message. It was blurry and pixelated at first, but the more it came into focus, the more I recognized what I was seeing. It was my wife, but she was burning. Her flesh was melting off of her face and her eyes burned with rage and agony. It didn't look AI generated at all. It was too real, too graphic, and all I could do was stare at the screen as the image loaded. Once it had finished loading, the text bubbles came up again. They stayed on the screen for around 5 minutes before a new message was displayed. Repent or end up like me. In that moment, I didn't know whether to cry, scream, shut down the computer, or all of the above. I settled on option D, and after closing down the laptop and crying at the top of my lungs for a long while, I made a promise to myself. Never use AI again.